Well, children can be cruel.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Hello.
And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Shear.
Hi there.
And today we're doing a Minipod.
Lego pod.
Yeah, a Lego pod of the Lego Batman movie that came out this weekend and made about $55 million domestically. Yeah. It was a huge weekend, by the way. This is you can't have three heavier hitters. They're all sequels, but... Yeah. Lego movie did bonkers business 3 years ago. And this one did slightly less, but I think it's to be expected. There's a lot of people who know what to expect from these Lego movies at this point or whatever. But then you have John Wick 2, and then you have 50 Shades Darker, which somehow... after watching that first movie, I'm like, you're gonna go out with this guy after all that?
I was thinking, looking at the studio, you're gonna keep making these?
Yeah,
Come on,
exactly.
Man. And they are.
Yeah, definitely.
As they make money.
Yeah.
And all they have to do to make money is show a little skin. Exactly like the Lego Batman movie.
Exactly like that. Anyway, this is a great idea, because Batman is, especially in the Lego movie, is hilarious. Will Arnett is one of our great voice actors. He's a great character actor. He was great in Arrested Development and everything. But his voice is so unique, and it fits this so perfectly. And I think we love finally seeing a lighthearted Batman for once, even though this movie takes great pains into saying how alone he is all the way through it. But man, this is just fun stuff, man. I don't know what else to say about it other than, man, what a fun movie this is.
Well, we got to go spoiler free for a few minutes, right? That's kind of our duty.
Yeah.
Not that kind of duty.
Duty.
And so I'll say they set me up really well by showing that Lego Ninja Go trailer right before the movie, which was freaking hilarious. Only trailer I saw. I'm doing really good about my resolution about getting there just before the movie and missing as many trailers as possible. So I was literally giggling before the movie even started just from that trailer. And the first 30 minutes is some of the most jam-packed laughs in a movie I think I've had in ages. I was near crying multiple times. Now, we'll get into spoilers later, but in the middle of the movie, that's not quite the same for me. I think the jokes come a little fewer and farther between, and they hit a little less often. And then the ending, I think, kind of drags. And again, I want to dive into all those things deeper when we're talking spoilers, but I would say the first 30 minutes is worth the price of admission alone.
It's kind of like Deadpool. Like, it takes itself...
It's very much Deadpool.
Meta.
Yeah.
That, it sets it up to where, like, anything goes in this whole thing. And just like Deadpool, like, there's some things that seem formulaic later on, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a kid-friendly DC answer to Deadpool in terms of a lot of fourth wall breaking, a lot of references, maybe too many. Arguably,
there are two different moments in here where they talk about all the different phases of Batman there've been.
Yeah.
One is just kind of a general overview, but then later on we see it on a big screen, all the different Batman, iterations we've had over the years or whatever. Which I think is funny though. I mean, showing all the different, the different Batmans over the years is great. And somehow tying it into this Batman, like there any continuity at all.
Yeah, he even makes a joke about being like 100, about having protected the city for like 150 years or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that is a funny moment too, because they're like part of the plot of this is the Barbara Gordon coming up and saying, "Do we really need Batman? He's protected the city for all this long, and we have worse crime than we ever did." And he keeps coming up with all these statistics, and then you like all these random Lego pieces coming into the screen going, "Hey, she's got a point right in front of Batman."
It was very Simpsons-like.
Yeah.
He keeps grabbing drinks to like get it and spit out. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's one part that is funny as hell, but that's where the movie starts to kind of defy its own logic, because in these iterations of Batman, he has defeated these villains. Yes,
Right.
the Joker gets away in some of them, but not in something like Dark Knight.
Yeah, or even the Tim Burton Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, but it's meant to be tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Well, you have an 8-year-old son that you took, right?
Yep.
What's that perspective like?
Oh, he laughed a lot. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that you got to have some history with the character to get.
Yeah.
Because they do keep bringing that stuff up. They go back to the 40s
Yeah.
to bring up like the comic version of it. And that stuff was hilarious, man. I'm going to hit you so hard that words are going to appear on the screen. I was rolling with that stuff. And like he liked it, but it was, he didn't get the context and everything. But overall, I was in a theater full of kids, and that's just so miserable
Yes,
to
it
me.
is.
It's so miserable to
It's
me.
not good.
There was an entire row that sat down next to me, but they didn't fit on the entire row, so they had to sit some behind, and Mom was behind with popcorn, so there was a kid going in front of me and going around and getting popcorn and everything. But otherwise, that was nice.
Yeah, that's annoying. See, I went to like a Friday matinee when kids were still in school. The only kids in the auditorium were like 2-3-year-olds that grandma was watching or whatever, who didn't pay attention to the movie at all.
Yeah.
But I had a nice experience in that regard. Should we talk spoilers?
Yeah, let's go into the spoilers.
Sure.
Overall, yeah, this is a good solid movie, and we would all recommend. I'm
trying to figure out where I am letter grade wise, because I think if it had sustained the level of that first 30 minutes in terms of comedy, I might be looking at a solid A right there.
Well, let me ask you something, or make an analogy before we go to spoilers. I'm probably going to be excoriated for this, but doesn't this kind of sniff a little bit of Disney's Planes to you?
I never saw that.
Okay, it did to me.
You know what it sniffed of to me?
What?
Batman and Robin.
Well, yeah, it too. I mean, that's another one that they reference too. But this is like, yes, it's funny. Yes, it's, bonkers and everything. But it's also like almost one-notish enough as compared to the Lego movie that it seemed like a lesser spinoff. It's fun and it's fine, but I just didn't get nearly the amount
and I think you're right.
out of it that I got the Lego movie.
I think this Batman is very much a one-note character, and the movie fails because it tries to give him depth.
Yeah.
The last third goes so far for trying to get the same kind of heart that the Lego movie has in this Batman turn, realizing he needs the help of others, and it just bogs down the movie to the point where the credits are rolling and they're doing little skits on the side of the credits, and my wife and I just left because we were like, all right, you've taken what was euphoric for 30 minutes and you've run into the ground trying to give me this heart that this character should be more like Deadpool, who learns nothing, right? Like, give me 5 seconds, like in Ratatouille, when the evil critic eats a bite of food and has a memory, and instantly we know this guy's got heart, right? You could have Batman do or see something that gives him that kind of memory, realize he needs help. What the hell? Maybe the reason he realizes he needs help is he gets captured, and those other people have to literally come save him. But all the emotion this movie goes for really, I think, takes the carpet out from under what might have been a really silly romp.
In that regard, it may be closer to Hancock than anything, because Hancock is another movie that I've always pointed to. Where Hancock fails is when you never really want to see Hancock become more than what he is. You want him to stay that way. The movie presents it as a problem because he's causing so many issues or whatever, but you never want to see him grow into a better, because what's interesting about that?
Right.
That's what makes him him.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, he's just like everybody else.
Well,
Right.
and this movie gives us, much to its own discredit, a scene that opens the film of Batman kicking utter and complete ass on his own.
Yeah.
With no need for any help. And the movie tries to make the reason he needs help at the end hinge on the fact that these other characters from the Phantom Zone, like the Eye of Sauron and fucking everybody else, Voldemort, have come into this world, and they're apparently too much for Batman to handle. And that frustrated me. And it also frustrates me that at that point he goes, well, I'm going to work with all the criminals I hate in Arkham Asylum instead of Superman and Green Lantern and all the Justice League people who are, exactly where they are having a party, and you're not going to ask them for help.
Right, and they're in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're off doing something else.
Right.
Well, okay, so let's get into the real spoilers of this movie then.
No spoilers! Kevin Spacey is Kaiser Soze.
Luke's father is actually Darth Vader. She's the sister and the daughter. They just
No. I'm reading the books.
The opening of this movie that you're referring to is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Because they have a plane coming in that has all of this, like, the most dangerous stuff ever, and everybody just being like, "Anybody got a problem with this? Nope, we don't have a problem with this." And it's being and the plane's being flown by the best buddies in the world. Yeah. You know? And so they point out how ridiculous it is to bring all this dangerous stuff into a city that is already horribly dangerous. And then Joker has this, great ingenious, get all these third-rate, fourth-rate villains to come in and
Condiment Man.
Yeah, Condiment Man.
How much of those, by the way, is fabricated? Because I assume, because there are some tertiary characters, villains in Batman.
A ton of them are real. Like the Eggman's real from the TV show.
Is he seriously?
Yeah. I don't think he threw eggs at him in the TV show like he does in this movie, but that was a real villain.
Oh, that's funny.
But I know Polka Dot Man and Condiment Man are both fake.
Yeah.
And halfway through the movie, when I realized they were real and still part of Joker's posse, I started dying laughing.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's where the difference, you're talking about the first 30 minutes of this and everything. First 30 minutes of this, the thing about the Lego movie that's so just great about it is that it's constantly moving, just fast. Like, as soon as somebody starts telling a story, it's just like, just all the characters and the things are just moving at lightning speed. Yeah. And in this one, it does take some time to kind of slow, it slows it down and everything. That's all the stuff going into the Phantom Zone and all that sort of slows the movie down quite a bit. Although it is kind of fun going into the Phantom Zone and seeing what it looks like and everything. But yeah, what else do you guys? What else do you want to talk about?
I think the voice cast is excellent.
Yeah,
all the way down. Obviously, Will Arnett.
It's perplexing though.
Well, I think I know what you're getting at.
The leads are great.
Yeah.
All right, but there are so many fucking famous. If you haven't looked on IMDb, go look up the cast of this movie, and there are so many people in this movie that you never knew were in there, and don't need. Like Billy D. Williams is playing Two-Face.
Yeah,
that's great. That's a great joke. Do you remember anything Two-Face said in the movie?
No,
because he has like 1.5 lines.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Why did you go hire Billy D. Williams for that?
Well, and Conan O'Brien is the Riddler, who also gets very few lines.
Right, and you've got Ralph Fiennes in the movie doing one thing, but not Voldemort.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I'm going to tell you one thing I was looking forward to as soon as they introduced Voldemort into this movie. Were they going to have a Ralph Fiennes off in this movie?
Yeah,
because he's not just Alfred in this. He's like whatever the fuck they call.
Yeah, he's like old Batman.
Yeah, he's old Batman in this. So he's like a badass and everything. And I think he's always a badass, but in all the Batmans we ever see, he's always just Alfred Pennyworth.
Right.
And
Funnel Fairy, but a bum.
Yeah, exactly. But if he's going to be a badass and he's going to be fighting, you should definitely have him fight Voldemort.
Yep.
And I was just, I mean, come on, that's just an opportunity wasted.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me in a self-referential type of thing. It's kind of the same thing when T.J. Miller says Blade 2 instead of Blade Trinity.
I was just thinking that.
In Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity wasted. If you're going to self-reference all the time, you need to be able to come correct. That's why they need me on these movies.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So,
we'll be on the next one.
Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite joke in the entire movie is when he first meets Dick Grayson at the party, and he's like, "My name's Richard Grayson. The kids at the orphanage just call me Dick." And he just deadpans, "Well, children can be cruel." And I lost it. My poor wife missed that one because here's the problem with this movie. That's also the good thing about it is there's so much humor packed in. That first 30 minutes, I feel like I would need to watch the movie 3 or 4 times just to catch everything. Not just all the references, but all the jokes. Like there's so many signs in the background that go by really fast that are funny, and you can tell the same people with the same great heart kind of made this movie. It's definitely a relative of the Lego movie.
One thing that I think was missing from this for me was the omniscient character, and it could be a drawback and could be an advantage to the Lego movie. The fact that there's somebody manipulating this, and there's none of that. There's awareness. There's not the awareness of their Lego characters until the very end, where they use that as a thing. But there's no other. There's a fleeting reference to being a master builder and all that stuff. But it doesn't it doesn't have the awareness that they're Lego figures in this universe. It's more that he's Batman in this universe.
You know what, though? I was sitting there thinking the same thing. Like, the first Lego movie, it's revealed that it's a kid that's doing all of this. And so therefore even this Batman character is someone being manipulated by this little kid. So now that you have a standalone Batman movie, like, is he suddenly just by himself? Now, there are a couple, I think I remember there being some sound effects, though, kind of like in the first Lego movie, that suggest maybe possibly this is somebody.
Well, every time they fire a gun of any kind or laser, you hear pew,
that's
pew,
what
pew.
that's what I'm talking about.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the pew 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 thing, and I'm glad they didn't go, and because I felt like even though the first movie that added a great deal of heart to the movie and everything, it's also the slowest thing about it. Like when it goes back to the real world, and I'm just weird about how they lit it and all that other type of stuff. It just is such a weird look to the movie. I'm glad they didn't just go and find some, like go to the real world and show a kid playing with his Batman
Well, I just
Legos.
assumed that we were watching another imaginary adventure this kid was putting together because it's the same Batman in terms of like tone and behavior and whatnot. We just didn't pull back and see the kid this time because now his dad is letting him do whatever, and this was a side adventure. I don't know. I do want to point out the thing. This is going to make me seem like a nitpicking bastard, like I have any chance of not being seen as that.
That ship has sailed.
This is a movie that feels the need right in the climax, I guess to prove the lava is real, to have a little kitty cat run out and get covered by lava and go, meow, and then get charred to death.
Right.
And my wife and I both looked at each other and went, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Did you hear the follow-up to it, though?
No.
After it goes by there, the cat goes, I'm fine.
Oh, well, goddamn.
And that's a tie-in to early in the movie when they're firing guns. And they're like, non-lethal force.
I was so pissed. I was so angry I didn't even hear the follow-up. All right, so the cat's fine.
The cat is fine.
I thought that was some of the darkest fucking imagery ever.
It was funny. I didn't hear that either. I saw the cat get charred, and I was just stuck on it for a bit. I was like, that's really dark stuff to be putting in a movie, but I didn't hear the I'm fine.
Well, that just sort of makes it okay. All right.
Yeah, well, now he's just charred. That's all.
Fine.
Living in horrible
It also
pain.
makes the lava pretty harmless, so what was the big deal?
One of my favorite things at the beginning in the same montage there was the music, the song that he does.
Oh, the Batman song, that death metal rap thing is amazing. It's not quite going to stick in my head like everything is awesome, but the lyrics are freaking hysterical because it's generally, look at all this bad shit about me, but I got so many millions I don't care. It's the basic gist of the song. God, it's awesome.
Yeah. And then we have I like the idea of the Joker really only wanting to do the things that he's doing so that Batman will finally admit that he's the number one enemy and everything.
An insecure Joker was a nice twist.
Yeah, and Zach Galifianakis is really fun in this as well. And I think that's really inspired when they have that thing at the beginning when Batman says, I like to fight around. Yeah. And all that. I do think that the ending of it, though, when they all like decide to work together and like get the island back together and all that other stuff is a bunch of bullshit. But but
and that's the only part where they use their Lego-ness to do something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but the plot is thin.
Yeah,
this whole thing, but the look of it is amazing. I mean, I would say that it certainly builds on, especially with lighting. Did you notice the lighting?
Yeah.
How they would. In fact, there's one time where he orders them away and everything. Batman turns to profile, and it's basically Batfleck.
Yeah.
Over the Batmobile. And looking down and everything. And it looks awesome. Mm-hmm. Like it's all him in shadow and everything. So I loved the look of this whole thing.
Some other funny stuff in this though is also just when he comes back home and he's by himself, and Alfred leaves the lobster out for him to like put in the microwave and everything, and he puts like lobster in the microwave, and it's just now that is a great animation scene because he's sitting there in front of the microwave, and you can see the shadow kind of like keep back and forth, and it's like that long like, man, he's lonely type of shot.
And they stay on him. He's like,
Yeah. And then he goes to eat the lobster, and he's like eating it by like pieces. Like, here's a whole claw and a tail, and then, like,
Also, like, I mean, he microwaved lobster.
Yeah.
He's a goddamn billionaire. Like, he can't do better. Even if you love lobster, I think artificial lobster is better than microwaved lobster. That's terrible.
The funny part about that is that he's watching Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
He cracks him up.
Yeah.
You completely. He starts laughing.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And they go through his movie library later, and they find out it's only romantic comedies like Must Love Dogs and stuff like that.
And Serendipity.
Yeah,
and then Michael Cera's character comes on. He's like, "We had Serendipity."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Michael Cera is awesome.
Yes,
in
he
this.
is.
Yeah, he's
the
great.
character of Robin in this is probably it's close to stealing the whole movie.
Tweet on the street.
Yeah. Especially when they keep giving him those big wide eyes and everything, and just like, he's just positive about everything. And I love every single bit of that character.
Well, in his first adventure with Batman, he's like, Batman's totally using him and doesn't even at that point care if this kid dies. Right? He's just like, I can't fit into the thing, so come with me.
Yeah.
I love how they did the eyes in this one, by the way, which I think is an addition to the Lego movie, where they can really get a lot of expressiveness out of there, and like, the way the light hits it and everything, the tears and all that stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. I would, if I were forced, I would give it a B, maybe B plus after a second viewing. We'll see. But there for the first 30 minutes, it was on course for an A or an A plus, because you will laugh a lot.
Yeah,
I think that's right. There are moments that just do drag in this, and that's the unfortunate part about this movie. If they could have just found a way to crank that up a little bit, or like what Jeremy was talking about, just give him 5 seconds of just like, oh, okay, he got heart, and then just move on.
Yeah. And then he can still be a cocky bastard after. Like, I could envision him being captured. They all come and save him, proving he needs their help, but he spends the rest of the movie still saying he could have done it himself. Like, I could have done this, or I could have done that.
Yeah.
But there are so many jokes. Again, my wife has no attachment to Batman, so she didn't get like shark repellent jokes or anything like that. But if you have any affiliation with Batman along the way, and I, of course, grew up on that TV show, and have seen all the movies and read a bunch of the comics. There are so many in-jokes in here. I probably missed a dozen, but I would recommend it.
Yeah,
definitely. They also, Chris saw this and was talking about it over the weekend. They almost have like a Cinemasins proof opening.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know if we were going to talk about this, but I had a half dozen people or more on Twitter and Reddit telling me, oh my God, the people who made this movie must be fans of Cinemasins. And I've had that before, right? Like, I had that before when we went to some movie. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I remember going, oh, that's what they're talking about, but that's not about us.
There was in Deadpool, the guy was eating an apple.
Yeah, and the giant titles in Civil War.
Which
about
that didn't make sense.
And so I'm sitting there with my wife. I've already told her, I got to look for whatever it is that may be some kind of reference to us. And the movie opens, and he's like, logos, super important logos. And I was like, okay, I can see why somebody would think that, but logos is not, necessarily unique to us. And then he's like, and get ready for reading. And there's text on screen. And I was like, okay, we've had actual directors tweet at us, right? Like Christopher McQuarrie watched our video and told us where we were wrong. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that a director of a film might have some awareness of us.
Yeah.
I already came up with what I think we can do to get around this sin-proofing the first 20, 30 seconds. But man, I was dying laughing. Whether or not it has anything to do with us, it's exactly the kind of jokes we would make, right?
Yeah.
That's what's so great
just
about
the fact that he says reading is enough for me to think that there's something there. Even if it's not homage, or if it's trying to proof it in some way, that it seems like they've seen the video.
Well, and it could have been just a last second edition, because it's just narration over the thing, and it's just him black. All important movies open with black.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
5 seconds of black.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they had to reshoot or anything like that.
There are enough hints that I hope someday someone who interviews them asks them and we find out. Because either way, I feel like it's a little bit of validation, kind of, that a movie would mock itself this way, the same way we would, not taking it anyway. So I give it a thumb up.
Yeah. I think we're probably all in the same range here. It's probably a B+.
You're going to have fun if you go to see this movie. Yes, there are some things that could be improved about it. I think if they had like a writer from Seinfeld, like the no hugging, no learning type of mentality, this movie would have been really bonkers and really crazy. But it's a good time for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will do it for this Minipod.
Minipod.
The Lego Batman movie. This is Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Go ahead. I got nothing.